review. Let's see if we can do this. No notes, if you please. Let's see how we do on this review. Off the top of your head, who can tell me the name of the cells in a sponge that can move throughout the middle of the sponge and distribute food and move waste and that kind of stuff? Anybody do that off the top of their head? You can type it in the chat box if you're too shy or your speaker doesn't work. Give me a shot. Mitchell wants to give it a shot.
Spicules?
Oh, you were so close. So close. These cells make spicules. So that's a good vocab. Anybody else want to try? Lauren, give it a shot.
Amoebocytes?
Amoebocytes. Amoebocytes make spicules. Very good. Very good. What do you call the skin of a sponge? If a sponge had skin, what would it be called? I'll give you a hint. It's the same name as your skin.
Skin.
Don wants
Epidermis.
to guess. Somebody said skin. Get out of here. Epidermis. Yes, that's a very good answer. It is the epidermis. Nice job. All right, now I'm going to give you a hard one. What do you call the gooey, gelatinous matrix that is the majority of the sponge body? Starts with an M. Super tough word.
Membrane matrix.
Membrane matrix. Wrong, but good guess. You got a couple M's in there. Anybody else want to try? It's a tough one. Nobody? That's okay. That's a hard word. Mesenchyme. The mesenchyme. That's a tough one. All right, let's see. Last one. What's the name of the cells in a sponge that are covered in mucus and catch microscopic food particles? Don, give it a shot.
Flagellum?
Oh, you're so close. You're so close. Flagella like move the water current, right? And then there's cells right around the flagellum called collar cells, and they're the ones that catch the food. But that was a really good guess. You were super close. All right, so good review. Good job, guys. Let's move on and talk about our cnidarians. There's a bunch of nonsense about gardening in the winter. All right, cnidarians, here we go. You got two basic forms of your cnidarians. You can have a medusa, which is the most common one that you guys are going to be familiar with. And a medusa is what you think of. Does anybody get like kind of a picture in their head when they hear the name Medusa? Because you might know it from something else. Who is Medusa? What is Medusa supposedly? Mr. Mitchell?
Isn't it that lady with the snakes on her head that can freeze anyone that looks at her?
Yep. There's a lady in mythology. This is her. I don't know what kind of mythology, some kind of mythology.
Greek mythology.
Greek mythology, and her head had snakes. Those are snakes. Aren't they scary? And so the idea is she's got a bunch of crazy stuff hanging down off of her head. And if you think about a jellyfish, right? The jellyfish has kind of got that same thing going on. They're dangerous and they hang down like that. And so that's the adult form, right? This dangerous stuff's kind of hanging down. And so you got this free swimming bell-shaped body. Swimming's kind of being generous. They sort of just kind of blob up and down, you know, like you've seen, I'm sure, SpongeBob go jellyfishing with his net. You know, there's not a whole lot of thought going on in a jellyfish swimming, I think. But basically something's got to hit him in the arms, right? You got to have a little guy, Nemo and Dory, cruising along, and they're going to hit. That's the biggest eye a fish has ever had. And they're going to hit those tentacles and get zapped. And then the tentacles will pull it up into basically the mouth and the inside of this body of this jellyfish, which is pretty cool. Some cnidarians will live only as a polyp or as a medusa. Some of them will be two different stages in their life. Jellyfish will be a polyp at the beginning and a medusa later. Some others, like a coral, will swim off as a little larva, and then they'll become a polyp, and they'll just stay as a polyp. So you guys want to see a video of a jellyfish eat something? No? Yes. Okay. Well, I got one thumbs up. I was like, oh, maybe they don't. Maybe they just want to cruise on. Yeah, let's watch a video. I'll show you something kind of cool. Oh, Mitch is saying 2 thumbs. Like, let's go with the video. Escape. Discard. Nobody wants to see my terrible drawing. All right, what we got? This is a good one. Look at this guy. Look at that thing go. Can got him. Kind of feel bad for the little guy. Takes a long time to get eaten when the predator's got no teeth or eyes or brain or like anything. Look at this one. He's got the will to live. Quitters never win and winners never quit. Go, little buddy, go. And look at him go, right? Like, that's impressive. Poor little guy, just a glass tank, though. Can't quite get away. He's going to have to get checked for a concussion. He's really getting hit there. You got to want it. Oh, too late. He did. Oh, dang it. Poor little guy. Such a cutie. Yeah. Sad, isn't it? Man, what a way to go. There's a jellyfish for you. Kind of cool, right? It's got no brain, no eyes, but it's grabbing food and pulling it in. Let me show you another jellyfish movie I think you'll get kind of a kick out of. Check this one out.
Scientists have discovered the secret to immortality. Turns out all you have to do is be a jellyfish. Hey guys, Tara here for D News with yet more reason we should be terrified of the ocean and everything in it. In 1988, scientists uncovered a species of jellyfish called Turritopsis dohrnii that can reverse its aging process, effectively making it immortal. Researchers now studying it to see how exactly it can do this in hopes that someday we might be able to do the same. The immortal jellyfish, as people are calling it, stays alive by regenerating into a polyp, which is its earliest stage of life, as it ages or whenever it experiences illness or trauma. It then spends 3 days doing that, after which it eventually becomes an adult again. This is one of the only known animals on Earth capable of evading death in this manner, but they are notoriously hard to study in captivity. To keep them alive in a laboratory environment, they have to be continuously monitored, which is exactly what one scientist at Kyoto University has been doing. Shin Kubota has devoted his life to studying these creatures, and he's managed to keep an entire colony of them alive in his lab, which requires an intense amount of dedication. He frequently changes their water, feeds them tiny little shrimp by hand, and the best part, he writes karaoke songs about the jellyfish, which he then performs wearing a jellyfish hat after he's finished his research for the day. He's become so famous for doing this that he's basically become the Japanese equivalent of Bill Nye the Science Guy. He regularly appears on national television in Japan, and his songs are available in karaoke machines all over the country. Famous.
There's more than just biology lessons here, kids. If you stay in the lab all day and never leave, weird things happen, okay?
And
So
though his
that's
primary concern is still studying the immortal jellyfish. He says out of all the animals in the world, only they are able to reverse the aging process instead of dying. And as such, it's impossible to determine their lifespan. According to him, they might live forever. What's interesting is that even though the jellyfish are extremely primitive, they share more genetic data with humans than they do with insects or worms, which means if we can figure out how they're able to reverse their aging process, then theoretically that knowledge could be applied to humans. Naturally, some scientists are skeptical about that, but at the very least, Kubota hopes to be able to extend our fixed lifespan by closely studying these creatures. And he says it's only a matter of time, a few years, maybe a decade or two, before we solve the mystery of its immortality. How exciting. And hey, if you want to see more weird facts,
We don't want to see more weird facts, but secretly, we all weird facts. Anyways, so there's the immortal jellyfish. I personally am in the camp that says I'm a little doubtful. I'm a little skeptical, I guess you could say, that we will ever get to a point where you can be sick or stressed or scared and turn back into a baby human and just start over again. I would throw my hat in the ring of probably a firm nope on that one. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Any thoughts or questions on the immortal jellyfish? Think we might have some anti-aging capabilities somewhere in our genome that we could unlock with the immortal jellyfish's knowledge. It's just a reset. Yeah, sure, kind of. Oh my goodness, there's so many things in the comment box. I'm so sorry. Let's see. You're right. People go insane. Is that going to happen to us in quarantine week 5? No, it's not, Thomas. Maybe. Yes, it's just a reset. Okay, perfect. We're good. Sorry, I had lost track of the comment box for a while. I apologize for that. Okay, cool. Let's talk hydras. There are lots of different, what should we say, orders of the cnidarians. Do not memorize these names unless you wish to sing the same song that the manta ray sings in Finding Nemo. these are the songs he's singing. If you remember from the first Nemo song, he like takes a deep breath and names all the orders of the sea, and he's saying Hydrozoa, Anthozoa. But you don't have to do that. The one that I do want you to be reasonably familiar with is just a hydra. You don't have to know its order name, but a hydra is a really cool example of a simple cnidarian, and it's in fresh water, unlike most of these cnidarians which are found in the oceans. They have a little tube-like body with a single opening. So if you want to call that mouth or anus or mouth/anus, sure, you got it. You're exactly right. There are little tentacles that extend around the opening, and it has a really, really simple body plan. But basically, its goal is going to be to catch food, shove that food into its gut, which we're going to call gastrovascular cavity, and digest the food with enzymes, just like any other animal would, excrete the waste, just like any other animal would, and then reproduce and live. So, I mean, you can move, respond to stimuli, reproduce. What else do we need to do? Respire, exchange oxygen, right? Those kinds of things, which is cool because it has no lungs or no gills, right? So it's through its cells, which is kind of cool. So these things are so small that it helps have a microscope. You can see them with the naked eye, but they're super tiny, and they're like almost see-through. I mean, they're just a few cell layers thick. If there's a decent light behind them, you can see straight through them, which is kind of cool. So that's a hydra, and here's what they look like. They have the outer layer of their body is called their epidermis, just like yours is, just like a sponge is. You know, a lot of animals are going to have that outer layer called an epidermis. Now, they are going to have a couple new layers that I'd like you to write down. The first one's a gastrodermis. This, pardon me, literally means, gastro means gut, like gastric is stomach related, and then dermis is skin. So this word literally means gut skin, and that's what lines the gut. So if this thing is a tube and the food goes in the tube, the first layer around that tube is gastrodermis, the gut skin. And that's, again, it's just only going to be a few cells thick. It's a really simple structure, but that's going to be where all that nutrition that this thing digests is going to go into the tissues of that gastrodermis. And then they have a middle layer of body cells that are kind of, what should we say, pretty soft and pretty narrow, a lot like the mesenchyme of the sponge, but that's called mesoglia in this example, which is kind of a bummer. I sort of wish it was mesenchyme, because it'd be so easy to just be like, what's the middle layer? It's always mesenchyme, but it's mesenchyme for sponges and it's mesoglia for a hydra. So I would like you to know that as well. And that's what separates our skin from our gut. Well, not ours, sorry. Hydra skin from hydra gut, okay? From hydro flask. Okay, so if you bump into them while you're swimming, they can contract into a teeny tiny ball. Basically, they kind of suck their long, fragile body down into a little tiny structure. They're probably anchored to something, like they have a little base, and the base of their body is going to be stuck to a rock or a submerged twig or something like that. And they just extend their little tentacles up and try to catch food, or something bumps into them. They contract down right next to that rock or right next to that twig and hope to stay safe, because pretty much everything in the invertebrate world is food for something else, right? So they do have a basal disc, which just means basal means bottom. So they have a bottom disc, or you know, that anchors them to whatever they're going to be stuck to, twigs, rocks, things like that. So not terribly exciting. Let me show you a diagram. This is a diagram you can get off of your the post from today, the folder that I showed you 2 days ago. I don't care where you get it from. Don't let it cause you a lot of anxiety. You can literally take that Word document, it's this picture, and just move the boxes, and your answers are under that. So don't let it stress you out. But this diagram's fair game for your test because it's such a nice, simple body plan of an invertebrate. So be prepared for that. Study that thing. But here's the really simple structures. Tentacles, I assume you know what tentacles are. Here they are. Mouth, which is the opening right here. As food is pulled into the mouth, it goes to a cavity called the gastrovascular cavity. Gastro means gut. Vascular means like blood to circulate. So the place where the gut and the circulation is the gastrovascular cavity. The layer of cells there is the gastrodermis, literally the gut skin, which makes sense, right? I mean, it covers the gut, so it's pretty logical. Outside of that is the soft tissues that make up the body, called the mesoglia. That's this light purple here. And outside of that is the epidermis, or the skin. Now, between the skin and the gut are nerves, a nerve net. And I'm not going to claim that I really truly understand this, because I really don't. But this thing with no brain and no spinal cord and no thought, right, will grab food, contract its tentacles, shove the food into its gut, and digest it. And that kind of like blows my mind, because I'm like, how do you know you're not grabbing like a little piece of debris or junk that's floating by? Like, you don't have eyeballs, you don't have a nose, you have nothing going for you. You're like a little see-through hollow tube. How do you catch food and eat it? That's what? That's ridiculous. But it does. It totally does it. And it has nerves. The nerves cause those tentacles to contract with cells that aren't muscles but are contractile. So they're kind of like muscles, and it kind of shoves that food inside and digests it and allows it to grow. So does everybody have what they need on that worksheet copied down? Feel comfortable with it? Type it into the Word document, or however you want to do it. Go once, go twice. Cool. You want to see a little video of this thing eat something? Because it's really weird. Super duper weird. Yep. Okay, let's watch it. Discard. Okay, where's that video? Here we go. Look at this thing. There's no audio in this video. So here you have, that's a water flea. So it's another invertebrate. And they swim through fresh water. He is bumped into this hydra, and they have little stinging cells on those tentacles, and he has stung them, and it kind of holds them in place and paralyzes them. And then he's not particularly fast, but he will orient them and shove them one by one into his mouth, which I don't anticipate is a particularly fast way to die for the little water flea, but it's really neat because you can see through him and actually see them in his mouth when he kind of pushes them in. But like I said, he's not particularly fast. So, whoa, where are you going? Oh, I guess he's leaving. Might be a boring video. Wait, he's back. Okay. So here was his teeny tiny microscopic mouth, which he is slowly making wider and wider and wider. And he's shoving this guy in. I think it's fascinating that he's green. I wonder if that's for camouflage. I mean, what advantage is there to being green when you're a predator, I wonder? I mean, surely he's not photosynthetic, right? I mean, he's heterotrophic animal. He can't be photosynthetic. I don't know. I better Google that. Who knows? Anyways, he is the only organism on the planet that eats slower than my daughter. So that's pretty cool. You know, you don't say that every day. But here you have it. Really, really slow. Come on, seriously. Eat that flea, please. Say 4 minutes. 4 minutes to eat a flea? Whatever. I mean, he's got no muscles, right? So maybe we're asking too much of him. I don't know. Eat the flea, dude. Let's go. That one's still alive. I kind of feel bad. Like, I mean, I know it's just a flea, but I kind of feel bad when things are eaten alive, you know? Like, well, can we kill it first? That's kind of rude. Oh, look, he's fine. Oh, come on. All right, we're going to fast forward this thing. Ready? Wait, did I do 2 fingers up to fast forward? Nope, that's backwards. No, it's forwards. Go, go, go. In your gut. In your gut. Let's go. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Look at that. Look at how much the leg of that water flea is stretching out the gastrodermis of this thing. Like, isn't that ridiculous? Like, that's a food baby right there, kids. That's like Pizza Ranch buffet right there. Woo, he is a distended little guy. Look at him go. Anyways, so he's got one in there. I imagine he's going for more. I don't think he lines them up. Like, I don't think he's got the brain to line them up, because I'm pretty sure he ate that thing sideways. Like, that is not, you gotta get these things oriented right. Oh, you can see his eye through his body. That's gross. That's a little weird. But I mean, kind of cool. But if you're into watching invertebrates eat other invertebrates, not really a, lion chasing down a water buffalo calf like in chapter 19. All right, what do we got here? Is he done? I think he's done. He might just hold those others for later. Gross. Oh, hydras. Nasty little animals. Okay, cool. So there's a hydra and everything you ever wanted to know about hydras. So how do they eat? They have little cells called cnidoblasts, and cnidoblasts, you do not have to spell that correctly on a test, by the way, are going to actually sting their prey, which is pretty cool. So they'll shock that prey and sting them. And some of these guys actually have poisons in those cnidoblasts, and the poison will kill that animal so that it's not kicking and fighting while they're eating it. Because you could see how thin that hydra's body was. Like when that water flea's leg was out, like you could see all the way through the hydra, right? So you don't really want your prey kicking about, or if you're a snake, it'll break your ribs. If you're a hydra, it'll kick through your little soft body, which is kind of gross. They do eat small invertebrates in freshwater, which isn't particularly surprising to you because you just watched that. And they drag the prey into their mouth, shove it in their gastrovascular cavity, hit it with a bunch of digestive enzymes, and kind of, digest it. Hopefully it's dead. I don't know. I'd be sad if it was still alive. Okay, let's see. How does he eat without muscles? From Thomas Roeder. Great question, Thomas. That's science, Thomas. Science is very confusing sometimes. Good answer, Tanner. Yeah, because God makes crazy stuff. That's why. No, that's a great question. We've actually, in previous years, students have asked me that, like, if it's not a muscle, then how does it contract? And we've had to look it up. And it's like special contractile cells that aren't technically muscles. Like they don't technically count as muscles, but they can still contract with nervous input. Hi, Eden. What's up?
Have a snack.
When I'm done with class.
I can't get it myself.
No, well, I'm done with class in 3 minutes. You want to say hi to my students? Say hi, students.
Hi, students.
Say I'm the slowest eater in the world.
I'm the slowest eater in the world.
Good answer. Okay, get out of here. Go away. Don't wake up your baby brother. Bye. Love you. Go away. All right. She's fine. She's fine. Okay, so now we know Eden. You've met Eden. Other Eden. Okay, here we go. So many Edens. All right. Hydra, response reproduction. We have to move, respond to stimuli. So when food touches the tentacles automatically contract with that nerve net. So it's kind of like if you have nerves that are functioning, but you don't have a brain. If you've ever been to the doctor and they hit your knee with the hammer and your legs like boop, kind of bumps out. Well, your brain wasn't thinking like, let's go knee, let's do something. But the nerves responded to a stimuli, right? That's not true. Sorry. The nerves responded to a stimulus. Stimuli is plural. So you get this external stimulus and the nerves contract. And so here you have the water flea bumps in the tentacles contract. And that's kind of cool. The nerve net we've already talked about. The nerve net is a network of nerves that run throughout the body, including into the tentacles. And they can reproduce asexually, which is really cool, through a process called budding. This guy right here is a bud. It's super neat. They will grow out a clone of themselves, which is a little freaky, but is kind of cool. And then that little bud will bust off and plant itself next to, I don't know, mom, dad, I don't know what we're going to call this thing, plant itself next to the adult hydra, grow up into an adult hydra, and start trying to catch food just like that other hydra, which is kind of cool. If you cut them into pieces, they can regenerate, which I don't know why you would do that to a hydra, but it's pretty cool. As long as you give them, some gut and some nerve net. You can't just cut a little teeny tiny chunk of the epidermis off and grow yourself a brand new hydra. You got to give them all the things they need to be able to get respond to external stimuli and catch food. It's kind of like a starfish, like a starfish has a central disc. And if you cut the starfish and give it a chunk of that central disc, you can regenerate like 5 starfish out of 1 starfish, but they have to have some central disc, some of that middle material. So it's kind of a little weird, but gets the job done, I guess. Hydra can also undergo sexual reproduction. Your most flexible animals can do both asexual and sexual, right? When conditions are good, you go through asexual reproduction, clone, tons of hydras. When situations are not good and genetic diversity is what you need, you go through sexual reproduction to get the genetic diversity that you want. And so those that can do both, like hydras, and aphids, and strawberries, these guys really have kind of have it figured out for how to cover a lot of area quickly, which is cool. They do make ovaries or testes, which are little tiny swellings in their body cavities. Most of our hydras have one or the other, but there are some hermaphroditic hydras, which means they'll have both ovaries and testes on the same hydra, which is a little bit weird because if you think about it, you don't want to fertilize your own eggs with your own sperm because that defeats the purpose of sexual reproduction, which is genetic diversity. You want some other hydra's sperm with your eggs, and you want your sperm to get to some other hydra's eggs so that you get the genetic diversity, because that's the goal of sexual reproduction, is that genetic diversity to help you survive. So the sperm from one hydra hopefully swim to a different hydra and fertilize a different hydra egg. Then we make a zygote, which forms a thick protective coat and literally hunkers down for the winter, kind of like a seed, except for seeds in my garden, which are growing in the winter. And then in the spring, it germinates into a brand new, genetically unique baby hydra, grows up with its little tentacles in the water, and starts to try to catch its food, and buds off, makes lots of babies, goes through sexual reproduction in the fall, dies, and round and round and round she goes. Kind of makes sense? Kind of weird, right? It's a weird life the hydra leads, but there you have it. Anyways, we're at half an hour, guys, and I want to do my very best to keep you guys at half an hour. Do you have any questions over that worksheet, where to find it, what to do, or questions on anything else that I can answer? Don?
Would you want the worksheet turned in by later today?
When you get it to me is fine.
Okay.
I'm being super flexible on due dates. Like I said, we got one student who's just about done with the whole chapter. You want to snap a picture of it, Edmodo message or email. I'm not really creating an assignment for it. If you just want to hold it up to the screen and be like, it's done, it's fine. It's going to be on your test. Do it. I don't really care outside of that, to tell you the honest truth. I've had 2 turn it in on an email, which works fine. Some have taken a photo of it with their phone. Hey, there we go. Avery, got it. You're done. Who's this other person? It just says unmute. I don't know who you are, but somebody else is done. Put your worksheet down so I can see your face. Oh, wait, I think it's Mitch. I can see his rafters. Okay. Aubrey, you're done. There you go. It's that easy. Cool. So, yes, Mitch, I always see the roof of his house. Okay, which is perfect. All right, perfect. Thanks, guys. Any other questions? Go once, go twice. 3 times sold. All right. Well, I guess here's your only homework then. Be productive. Do what you can to keep up, and then find a way to get away from your computers and get away from a screen and do anything, just something outside, something that's not on a computer, because too much computer time will make you a crazy person. So, figure something out. Okay. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I truly do. And I'll see you next time. Okay.
See you, Ms. Stecker.
All right. Bye, everybody. See ya.
So you got my worksheet, right?
Got it, Mitch.